since we last did is a lot's been happening since the last time I talked about the Dominican Republic. COVID mandates have come in now, and the CDC has us on level 3 with COVID at the moment. And the current mandate is that if you are double vaxxed, you're good to go. You can arrive here and go in all public places. If you've only got one vax or you're unvaxxed, you can still arrive. But then coming into Lupron is tricky because they don't have a 24-hour PCR test facility, which you've got to carry a PCR test every 7 days. And the one in Lupron is taking 7 days to get to the government hospital. So the only way to, if you're unvaxxed or one vaxxed, is to go to Ocean World, because they have 24-hour tests, which usually come in 2 hours, or Puerto Bahia Marina in Samaná or Samaná town itself. But Lupron does have that problem. You're looking at around about $80 for a PCR test every 7 days. So it's a little bit tricky for the unvaxxed and the one vax. If you come here and you are vaxxed, then basically carry your vax certificate, because they can't recognize on your phone the digital vax certificates. I think with this mandate, when the DR reaches 70% double vaxxed, they may drop this. And at the moment, we're up to just over 62%. So once they get to the 70%, they'll drop the mandate, and then life will be a lot much easier on this side. Let me just go through my notes now. Okay, dogs and cats, no problem. Bring them in with the normal vax certificates. You don't need to do a pre-entry test, veterinary check at any of the other islands. You can just bring your dogs and cats in, but no birds. Okay, Haiti, that's another story at the moment. USA has pulled out and said Haiti's on its own. Obviously, they share our island, and the military is busy on the borders, and they're protecting the borders. They're also busy rounding them up in DR and finding out who the illegals are and deporting them back to Haiti. So by spring, we will know a lot more on the Haiti situation. Okay, check-in fees for up to 90 days. Town anchorages, you just come in, you queue flag, you anchor, or you pick up a mooring. But mooring bulls, be careful in Lupron at the moment. We had one break yesterday again. And it's very cheap to check in. It gives you 90-day check-in. And yeah, from there, after 90 days, you can apply for a navigational permit. So if you want to stay later than 90 days, that's no issue. Okay, Lupron, Manzanillo. If you're coming from Antigua, Manzanillo is your best angle. It's a commercial port. The best to do is to try calling the Commandante on 16 or 68, but they're not really geared up for yachties. So if you queue flag and you just stay overnight and leave to head down to Lupron or Ocean World the next morning, you'll be fine. Okay, Lupron, enter in daylight. There's nets out there, so you've got to be careful. If you use Bruce Van Sant's book, first of all, it's great for sailing around the DR, but he also has information in there about the channel and Lupron and all sorts of things. So he's a good one for that. If you come in, anchor and lots of chain, Q flag, call Commandante. Don't leave your boat and go to land. They want to come out to you and they'll instruct you. And yeah, stay on the boat. Okay, double vaxxed okay, unvaxxed and single only, then it's a 7-day PCR test that takes 7 days to get the results. Moorings, 7 have broken this season, and basically 1 broke yesterday afternoon. So if you do end up on a mooring, pick them up, give them a good tug and get them checked. The government's talking about putting in moorings, but it's been a year now, so I think it's a case of mañana. Okay, then the marinas are good in Lupron for security and safety in a blow. You won't have any walk around boats. And sadly, Lupron's put Dominican Republic back on the Caribbean safety and security net list for break-ins. So if you do come down here, like anywhere in the Caribbean, try and put an alarm system in and take safety precautions. There are thefts in Lupron, unfortunately. Okay. Don't always presume it's locals. We know that story from the Caribbean after 10 years. Okay, no making water or swimming in the bay. There is no sewage pump out. So yeah, it's not basically, it's healthy enough for the wildlife, but not for us. I wouldn't do it. Okay, then you've also got to watch out. We have an incident at the moment going on. There's a lot of cruisers working illegally in the bay and taking work off the legal Dominicanos with ports permits. So if you do get offered services by them, you must ask them for their residency, their work permits, their Dominican Republic business, and any other permits that go with it. Seems ports are dealing with that at the end of this month, but again, once it happens, we'll know. It's a small rural town with very basic supplies. If you want to go shopping, you've got around about 1.5 hours drive down to Puerto Plata, but then you've got to be double vaxxed because the supermarkets there want to see your certificate. So you can hire cars 30 days on an international driver's license, and then thereafter taxi services are very cheap, etc. Ocean World Marina, Orhe. It's the only hard stand on the north coast now because Marina Tropical was closed down due to environmental issues. So you just go through the marked channel, you call 1668, the Armada will even assist you with a tow if you need it, and take pipe chafe guards as their concrete fixed docks, and they can surge in winter. Officials are on site in ATMs and all facilities, and they can process unvaxxed and single vax with that 24-hour PCR test. Okay, Samano Town Anchorage, that's Louis. He'll come out. Just Q flag, drop anchor, Q flag, stay on the boat. They are watching, so they'll come out to you. The moorings there, who knows? And it was good holding when we were there. And he'll come out with the Armada and all the other people. And he's your interpreter and your clearing agent. So you pay him for his services. They have got a 24-hour PCR test facility in Samanar. So the unvaxxed and the single vax, no problem. As long as you carry it every 7 days, the renewal, you're fine. Okay, and also remember, with the town anchorages like Luperan and Samanar, there are no tips for the officials. Luperan's had a reputation for doing this for quite a few years, and it crops up now and again, but all the Armada services and the officials, especially the Armada, it's free service. Okay, Puerto Bahia Marina, Gavi. super guy, English speaking like Ocean World as well. Channel 1668, marked, channel going in, concrete docks. So again, chafe guards, pipe chafe guards. They've got full facilities, ATM and officials on site. They can also process the unvaxxed or the single vax with the 24-hour PCR tests. And that's like 5,000 pesos, something like the same price as the other one I told you, I can't think. Anyhow, when you're leaving DR within that 90-day period, on your check-in, you get 90 days. You get a free despacho from the Armada. They're always free. And after 90 days, if you still want to stay and cruise around the DR waters, you apply for a navigational permit, which is a little bit tricky. You need insurance to get it, but I can help with all that information. There are a couple of loopholes there because Lupron hasn't got a bow chart. The people are managing to bypass the navigational permit to go to Ocean World because there's nothing else here. Okay, so if you go offshore to PR or Bahamas and you've been here over 90 days, like in Lupron or Samanar, you don't need that navigational permit for offshore. Okay, so basically, if you're on Facebook, we've got the DR Dominican Republic Cruises Information Group, which is hot off the press. Then, of course, the Noon site that I keep updated as often as I can with Sue. Or else you can contact me on email or phone number. Joan, do you want to add that to it? Or shall I just give my phone number now?
Denise, what we'll do is we'll send out and post your information, but you are a cruising host, so everyone can go to the SSCA directory, look up Denise Simpson, and put in cruising host, or put in the country, Dominican Republic, and your name and contact information comes up. But we will send that out to all the attendees here.
Great.
I really appreciate
And then just
it. You're sitting there in your Morgan 41 in Lupron.
I know after 15 years of being a live on board, you think my life would be a bit more organized in my boat, but no ways.
Does anyone have questions for Denise or suggestions? Everybody's smiling and nodding. Okay, Denise, thank you very much. I'm going to go to John Halley now. And
thanks,
unmute
Joe.
John. And thank you so much, Denise.
Yes, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
And John, do you want to unmute? John, you have to unmute. There you go.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Yes.
I actually thought that Lee would be the principal talker here, but not a problem. The position in Colombia in general is that there's no restrictions on anybody, whether they be vaccinated or not, in coming to visit. Obviously, vaccination is highly encouraged, but there's no PCR test required of those arriving either. As far as checking into ports of entry like Santa Marta, Portobello, which is Barranquilla and ourselves, that's handled usually through an agent. I believe that the Santa Marta Marina is, as it were, mitigating some of the costs by if you stay for a certain period of time. So the actual costs of checking in Santa Marta are probably cheaper than Cartagena. And I believe Portobello is, the fees are roughly speaking about $175 for a period of up to 1 year, with them mitigating the agency fee, which is $45. You'll have to double check this if you stay for, let's say, more than 2 months. In Cartagena, unfortunately, it's known to be quite expensive to check in here. And the best rates you're likely to get from an agent, if you're staying more than perhaps 2 weeks, is $290. That includes the temporary importation and the cruising permit valid for 1 year, with the possibility of extending that period for a further year. The anchorage, still plenty of space, but it's a fairly roly-poly anchorage with a lot of tourism traffic. Day tourism, day trips to the islands has become a huge business, and over the pandemic period, it's really increased. So you'll have to just be a little bit tolerant to the wakes produced by these sport boats.
Up. Come on, John. Joe's
I think the Club de Pesca is charging, I think, around about $45 a week, and we charge roughly at Club Nautico, that is, about, roughly speaking, $100 a month. Now, security in the old town and the area surrounding doesn't seem to be a problem. Obviously, people have to be a little bit more careful if they go out beyond the tourist and the higher end residential barriers. But walking around the marina areas is really very safe and very easy and very convenient. The supermarket's very close by. Really, the place has largely opened up. And I also believe on our doorstep, San Blas has opened up too. So, you know, it's become approaching normal. The one thing that hasn't changed, though, is there's still mask wearing mandate in public areas, and including the marinas. The marinas do still insist on people wearing masks, and you cannot get into the supermarket unless you have a mask. So you have to be aware and tolerant of that rule, which seems to be sensible given that the pandemic hasn't finished yet. Really, that's about all I want to say right now. Is Lee there, Emma?
No, I don't see Lee. I had a question. Are there still those camps along the border between Colombia and Panama, or have those people moved on?
Okay, that's interesting. That's in an area called Darien, which is notorious for illegal immigration. I'm not sure what the quantities are. I'm sure, as always, there'll be a bunch of people that want to go into Panama and then on to Costa Rica and beyond. But it never seems to really affect cruises as such. The border, the Old Valdia, Zapsuro and Old Valdia, are Zapsuro being Colombia and Old Valdia being the beginning of Panama. They're open for business, so you can check in at Old Valdia if you want to start off at Old Valdia and head through the islands and maybe do your final cruising permit at Linton or even Shelter Bay. But that's one host territory, so I'm not going to jump on him.
Well, John, we started the seminar just a little bit early because we had good connection with Denise, and knowing the experiences we have with the internet down there, we had a good connection, and I wanted to bring people in. And so Lee may come on in a few minutes, and then we have Joe Kapinski who can talk on Antigua, which is of interest. And if you can just hang out here, and we'll see if Lee comes on. Okay.
I will certainly happy to do that. I'm here standing by.
Okay. I have a question.
What percentage of Colombia has been vaccinated?
Okay. What percentage, John, I have a question for you. What percentage of Colombia has been vaccinated?
Entirely guesswork. I'm not sure if it's been published, but I can only say perhaps about 35%, 40%. They're already talking about the third vaccination for people over a certain age, like 60, to come into being in about a month. So they're still pushing it. And also vaccinations be given to children. That's been approved. I'm not sure exactly the details on that. But given the rural nature of a lot of Colombia, I wouldn't think that more than about 35, 40% have been vaccinated.
What vaccine are you using in Colombia?
Moderna, Pfizer, in my case, AstraZeneca. Also, quite a lot of people have been vaccinated by Sinovac, which is the Chinese version. Okay. In the past, a lot of people went to the States to get the single vaccination Janssen, just to get it done and out of the way. But that seems to be over, and most people, but it surprised me, a lot of the captains and the marineros are just getting their first vaccinations right now. So, but they've been under tremendous pressure to deliver and to, you know, risky business because they're dealing with tourists all the time. But finally, they're getting around to it. Having said that, I've not known any captain or marinero that's suffered badly from COVID. But maybe I don't know everybody.
Well, John, thank you for that. And if you can just stand by, and I'll ask Joe Kapinski to talk Antigua. Joe, can you hear us?
Yep, I
Yep.
can.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Let me tell you about Antigua. It's probably not much different. Well, maybe it is a little different than you've heard from the two previous guests. First of all, Antigua is open. All annually scheduled marine events are planned for 2021-22 winter season. Remind you that Antigua has more international sailing regattas than any other island in the Caribbean. All commercial facilities and are open, restaurants, bars, food stores, things like that. That is the general situation. However, Antigua is still under a COVID state of emergency, so certain COVID protocols are in effect. As of November 17, coming up, this is a change from the past. All incoming individuals 5 years of age and over must provide a negative rapid COVID test taken within 4 days of arrival. Previously, Antigua required the PCR test. That is after the 17th. That will not be required. Only the rapid test. Also, all incoming travelers 18 and above must show proof of full vaccination. If you have a 2-shot vaccination protocol, then the last shot must be within at least 14 days of your arrival. If you have vaccines requiring 2 shots, Antigua accepts a mixing of Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. Those are not the only vaccines Antigua accepts. They also accept Johnson & Johnson. They also, which is single shot. They also accept the Russian Sputnik vaccine, and there are 2 Chinese vaccines out there that they do accept. They do not accept the Cuban vaccine. That you will hear about it. I hear about it in the Caribbean, but not much. Not in Antigua. Part of the protocols is you must wear your face mask at all times when in public and in public spaces, and also observe as best you can social distancing protocols. In addition to Antigua being open for marine events, the cruise ships have started to arrive. The first big one arrived a few days ago with about 2,500 people on it. We sometimes have as many as 4,000 or 5,000 people in St. John's at one time. From the cruise ships, I don't know if they will have that pace this year, but it can get pretty crowded in St. John's. Beaches are open 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. I mention that only because earlier in the pandemic experience, beaches were open on a more limited schedule, and sometimes beaches were closed, but now they're open 7 days a week. There is an 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. There's not much to do after 11 p.m., so you're not going to be missing much anyway. Approximately 70% of Antiguan residents are fully or partially vaccinated. They have gone to mandatory vaccinations in many areas of the country. All people that deal in the tourism business, cab drivers, bus drivers, people that deal in shops that cater to visitors. Antiguans have been issued photo vaccination ID cards. So you should expect to, or you should plan to be asked, or you may be asked to show proof of vaccination going in any public facility or event, such as restaurants, things like that. The government strictly enforces this regulation, is very strict on restaurant and bar owners. So please be cooperative and plan to carry your vaccine card with you. I have mine in this little waterproof thing. It can be open, so it can be augmented if I have to get more shots. There are no requirements, no discussion concerning booster shots at this time, and I don't think you'll have to worry about that. Antigua, like a lot of the Caribbean, has had to work very hard to get COVID vaccines. That's why they have a mix of them on the island. The predominant one is AstraZeneca, which they get from the UK. And so I don't think we're going to have to worry about boosters anytime soon. Marine entry procedures, other than dealing with health authorities first, are not really much different during the age of COVID. First of all, Antigua uses EC Clear, that's SEACLEAR.com, all one word, for electronic transmission of entry documents before arrival. It cuts a lot of time off of standing around in immigration and customs. If you do not use it when you get to immigration and customs, they will ask you to sit down at a computer and fill out the electronic form anyway. So if you are coming to Antigua, you have access to the internet, do use that. The only ports open for arrival are of private vessels are English Harbor and Jolly Harbor. Earlier, there was an entry point at the Nevis Street Pier in St. John's that is no longer open to private vessels. Nevis Street Pier is used for cruise ships. As I said, cruise ships are starting to arrive now, and you do not want to bring your vessel into St. John's. When approaching Antigua, this has been out there in most entry documents during the period of COVID. It didn't happen before COVID, but when approaching Antigua, you must contact marine authorities on VHF 16 at least 6 hours before arrival. Now, as the entrance to both English Harbor and Jolly Harbor are sheltered by hills, the 6-hour requirement may be a little difficult to achieve. So, so if not immediately successful, and if you are successful at contacting them in 6 hours, please let me know, because I want to know what radio you're using. Continue attempting contact periodically as you're approaching until successful. Once in contact, follow directions of marine authorities. Obviously, if they don't say it, you'll put up your quarantine flag. They will direct you into whichever harbor you're coming into, and they will tell you where they want you to anchor. You just don't go in and hunt and peck for a spot these days, unless they tell you to hunt and peck for a spot. And then they will tell you what to do there. Beyond there, you will be likely told, they will not come out to you, likely not come out to you. You will be told where to go into. You must complete inspection by health officials before you can proceed to customs and immigration. You will be given a health form for everyone on board to fill out. Remember, the COVID test, the rapid test, must be taken by everyone 5 years of age and up. COVID inoculations for everyone 18 and above. Once you've finished with the health formalities, then you can proceed to customs and immigration, unless specifically asked. Those on board not dealing with clearing in process should remain on board until the formalities have been, all entry formalities have been concluded. Remember, all of this can change at any time. The Antigua government has a weekly cabinet meeting. The prime minister and his cabinet meet weekly, and that's where changes in the COVID regulations come out. When you go online in the internet, always check for the dates of the things you were reading. I have gone online in preparation for this and find popping up government statements from last September, from last June, from things like that. So look for dates. But what I've told you is as of November the 17th. As required earlier, you will need a cruising permit for Antigua. It's not, I don't know what the price is right now, but it's not very much. But that will be taken care of when you check into Immigration and Customs. Other than that, the only requirement traveling between islands, there has early on, back in 2020, there was an attempt to try and create some kind of umbrella or some kind of bubble between at least the English Caribbean islands, so you could easily travel between them. That never worked out. There is no bubble. Probably every island you go to is going to require some kind of vaccine requirement and some kind of COVID test, either the PCR test or the rapid test. The rapid test is pretty easy to come by in Antigua. You can check with most hotels and they will be able to tell you where the closest place is to get the rapid test. In Antigua, the only place to get the lab-bred PCR test is at the hospital in St. John's. You have to make an appointment to do that. The cost for that, I think, is somewhere above $100, not more than $200. It depends how it's going, but and that would be per person. So I think most cruisers in the Caribbean are going to go to one island, see that island thoroughly, and then go to your next island of interest without any back and forth, because you're going to have to keep producing those COVID tests, either rapid or the PCR test. That's it, unless there are any questions.
Is Joan around?
Oh,
Have we lost Joan?
well, Denise, I can hear and see you just fine. So I don't know where
Yes,
Joan is.
we've lost Joan again like last time.
Did she run out to the
I
bar?
think so. Oh,
No, she's heard our
their Wi-Fi's
presentations.
worse. Yeah, their Wi-Fi seems worse up there than our islands down here. And considering I'm getting it off a bullet on the boat, it's not bad.
Yours seems fine.
Yeah.
Can anyone hear us there in St. Augustine? St. Augustine, is anyone there? But I'm assuming we should
Nope.
let's hang out for a second, because Joan is probably feverishly working with her computer right now.
Let's see. I saw something, a message then. Oh, she can hear us all.
Oh, I can't see that, but all right, she can hear us then.
Something is wrong. So she can hear us, but she can't communicate.
Oh, there I
Who's
see it.
on? Joe. Joe is on, Joan.
Who should be next to go? Let's find out.
Joe is here.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi.
So who's next on the list? Let's go through the list. Is Lee there?
I think it's just the three of us.
My God, it's a nice quiet meeting we're having. Anyhow, great to see you, Joe.
Good to see you all.
And it's
Yeah,
good
nice to see you
hear-
again.
Well,
yeah.
by the end of the month, I won't have this fake backdrop. I will actually be in Antigua. So if we have another one, maybe I will transmit from the Antigua Yacht Club, which has a very nice view.
Lovely. Very nice. So tell me down there, we're rolling out flu shots in DR now because tourism is booming and the cruise liners are pouring in, the tourists are pouring in, unvaxxed, vaxxed, one vax, and flu shots are being handed out.
There's a question, I guess someone has asked about, Joe wants me to mention the arriving boats.
Okay.
The Salty Dogs use Antigua as their base. I think they had about, I forget how many boats. Joan has worked with them closer than I have, but I think they have a large number of boats coming down, 50, she said. They're about halfway down. Last year, because it was so difficult to travel between islands, well, it was expensive, and you had to quarantine. You likely may not have to quarantine between islands this time, but as always, all of these COVID restrictions can change. So before setting sail or heading to another island, check to see what they are likely to be doing. The two main anchorages in the southern part of Antigua are English Harbor, which is kind of small. A lot of the Salty Dogs will likely be there, but they'll probably eventually, if they're staying a long time, go over to Falmouth, where it's a little cheaper to anchor. It's very nice to stay moored up to the seawall, but it gets to be expensive after a while. Joan's got the after battle report. All the broken boats always contact her. Mostly everyone gets down there all right, though. But I expect a lot of boats this season because a lot of boats did not come down last season. The Salty Dogs did come down. The Ark, which is only a few boats, the Ark Caribbean 1500, which also set sail from the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, only had a few boats this year, but they are coming down. There are independent groups along the East Coast that come down from New England and other spaces that did not travel at all last year, and I expect them to be coming down. So I don't think it will be as crowded as it would be in a normal year, but it's certainly going to be busy. At least we hope so. The other place to go into is also Jolly Harbor. Some boats may go up there. That is the only place that sort of has a real American style marina. And there is a yard up there as well. And there are several yards in Falmouth and one in English Harbor. Oh, there's a second Salty Dog fleet leaving in a week. Usually some of the Salty Dogs aren't quite up for the first passage, so then they come down, a few handful of boats, 10 or less, will sail together. Oh, and then some are also going to Bahamas. I read. Well, everyone can read this. So, all right. Any other questions for any of us?
The only one thing I wanted to butt in about was I heard that the Virgin Islands were really right at their limit as to how many boats they could cope with. I mean, obviously that's going to reflect down island as the season goes on. Other people, is it just a crowd out from just the pent up energy from no activity last year, or is there a big increase of people heading out sailing and probably going to present in Antigua and down island, and perhaps even in Colombia and Panama?
John, I think, I mean, I have not been up to the BVIs or the USVIs, but I think moorings and sun sail, which have a huge operation in the BVIs, last year were promoting future contracts. So pay less this year, go next year. So I think that's probably the big thing that you get up in the BVIs are all of the moorings, sun sail charterers, and then the secondary charterers after those. Those are where after 5 years, the sun sail and the moorings boats have to go somewhere, and they go to a number of secondary charters in the BVIs. And I saw over last year, a lot of those people were advertising, send us money now for a discount, go sailing next year when COVID is gone. So I think that's probably the situation.
Yeah, it sounds like a very good analysis. What's going on in Grenada? Do you hear much about that?
I have not heard anything about Grenada. And all of the islands have addressed COVID and had their own COVID situations differently. Trinidad, for instance, has had a pretty long lockdown. Antigua really didn't have a long lockdown. They had one starting in March of 2020. They were open again in July, but by then, Europe was locked down. So no, Antigua gets a lot of European visitors, both from the UK, and they've done a lot of marketing with Italy, of all places. So you find a lot of Italians in Antigua. There used to be a direct flight from Milan, but I don't believe that's flying anymore. Joan says somebody has information on Grenada. St. Lucia will be getting the Atlantic Arc, which did sail last year. Just most of those boats, when they got to St. Lucia, watching them arrive, it seemed that most of them stayed in St. Lucia, except for a few boats that did go up to the French island of Guadeloupe. So I'm assuming those were French boats that intended to go up to Guadeloupe anyway, and I'm assuming there may have been some French boats that went down to Martinique. John, I think someone's asking you about Puerto Vallarta or Valerto.
Okay, Puerto Valero. Okay. I spoke to the manager of Puerto Valero a little while back to try and clear up the entry charges. As you know, in Colombia, it's a requirement to have an agent to handle your affairs. And the agent is then your legal entity responsible for you. But there's been quite a lot of postings on Facebook and other places about how high the agency charges are, particularly in Cartagena. And sure, they are high. They have been high for probably about 5 or 6 years now. And currently, the best deals you're likely to get if you're going to be extending your stay for more than about a couple of weeks, as I said before, is about $290. Out of that, about $140 is actually going to the authorities and for transport costs and stuff. That sort of expense. So yes, it is high, but the upside is that there's no PCR test required. And that is going to yank on the pockets of quite a few people. And it's obviously going to be positive that that is not a requirement in any of the ports, entering ports in Colombia. The Portobello is developing a resort type marina. It's got nice protected finger slips. It's howling with sand. It's fairly blustery with sand over there. It's very close to the industrial city of Barranquilla, which is where the AB dinghies are made. They have access to fairly good technical resources from Barranquilla. It's a little far away. You have to get a taxi to the city and back to get most of the stuff. But they seem to be quite well organized, and the place is definitely developing and getting better every year. So, and it also is an option for those wanting to haul out, partly because the haul out facilities are right at their limits in Cartagena right now. I mean, when you come in, if you want to haul out, it's a good idea to talk to Ferrosem or Ferro Alquimar or Manzanilla Marina. It's a good idea to talk to them before arriving, just to know that you'll get a slot when you come here. Portobello provides a good option, and it's sailable from Cartagena, a little upwind, a bit blustery. On most days, it's quite a hard sail, even though it's only 14 miles away. But they have a good facility developing over there. So, and as I said, the fingers are quite protected. So it is a good option. And it's cheaper to check in here than in Portobello than Cartagena. Having said that, you're going to spend about $170 for checking in Portobello, but you still need to check into the port of Cartagena when you arrive. You can't just say, well, that's it, done. Whenever you switch from a port, for example, Santa Marta to Portobello, you have to check out of Santa Marta, check into Portobello, unless it's just a day stop, in which case nobody's going to bother. And likewise, if you go from Portobello, which is the province of Barranquilla, district of Barranquilla, then you have to come into the port of Cartagena and check into the local port authority and nominate an agent to handle your affairs while you're here. So that is a little bit onerous for some people, but that's been how it has been for many, many years. We'll obviously try and put pressure on the agents as far as we can to try and get their prices down to a more reasonable level, but that's not going to be a short-term, no short-term results from that.
John reminded me of something that's relatively new in Antigua. It started a few years ago, back in 2018, but because we've been through COVID and there hasn't been much traffic back and forth, most people may not know about it, may not be in the cruising guides. In Antigua now, if you leave your boat, if you decide you want to go home for a special event or for any reason, you must give the local authorities when you're leaving and the name of an agent who is watching your boat. The way they refer to it is you have to leave your boat in the hands of a captain. It doesn't have to be someone that's a licensed captain. Generally, what they're looking for is someone who is known to the marine authorities as someone that is there and they know how to get a hold of. So you can't if you leave your boat on the hard, if you leave your boat on a paid mooring, if you leave your boat in a marina, those are all facilities that will likely you can give those as, if it's a mooring, who the mooring owner is. Obviously, if it's a marina, who the marina manager is. But if you just leave it at anchor or at a private mooring, if you rent somebody's moorings, some people have put down moorings, and then during the summer season, they go on the hard and they may not be around, so they may be offering to rent their mooring. Then you need to have a manager. I can help you find people. There are a few good people around. It's not a tough job. It's just someone that is responsible who will keep an eye on your boat. And should your boat start to have problems, it's someone the authorities can go to locally and will be in touch with you to work out whatever condition arises. But you don't need managers, as John was saying. to check in or check out. That you can do by yourself.
Yeah, I think the same argument applies for the agent that's been used here, that the authorities have somebody they can pinpoint if there's a problem. In terms of leaving it, if you're at anchor here, you theoretically should have somebody overseeing the boat if you're going to go away for any more than 2 or 3 days. But again, it's probably the good justification in this case to have an agent so the authorities can take action if necessary, if there's a problem with the boat, and communicate with the owner. Yeah, anyhow, that's my lot for the minute. Is Lee there or anybody else?
Not really.
Well,
Just that the tourists are pouring in and the cruise liners are pulling in, and yeah,
yeah,
it's a hectic
it's a
time.
little bit sublime to the ridiculous, or vice versa.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a worry because in Cartagena there's been an enormous increase in national tourism. I think as a result of the pandemic, when simply people couldn't go anywhere else, so they all flood into Cartagena. And as I said in the beginning, we've seen an enormous rise in day tour traffic, which has filled up like 50% of the marina. And so it's a little early to see if that's going to reverse as people tend to go further ashore. But of course, there's that business of propagation, and people need to take care and protect themselves, probably even more so now than several months ago, just because things are opening up so radically. But I feel quite comfortable being here. I mean, you don't hear drones of ambulances going up and down the streets like we did at the beginning of the trip. That was because there was no other noise. The only noise there was, the only traffic there was an ambulance. So here it's crazy motor taxis are just marauding around the place. Incredible numbers of motor taxi drivers.
Like Dominican Republic.
It's gone absolutely crazy. It's like the only source of employment for a young lad these days is to get himself a motorcycle and to try and eke a living taking people from one place to another. That's been incredible too. The increase in traffic over the pandemic has been really noticeable. But still, the good thing is the old city and the nice places to see are within walking distance here. And the barrio that, have you ever been to Cartagena yourself?
No, not at all. No.
Oh, well. It has its charms. Obviously beyond us is the beautiful San Blas. And there's some beautiful islands of Rosario very near to where Cartagena is. And Cartagena, the old city, is still a gem. So there's still an awful lot of good things to be said about here. Plus, of course, there's no major restrictions on people coming, COVID tests or anything else practically. Only that they behave themselves and wear their masks in public. And
safety protocols in the DR, and you're fine. Just the unvaxxed and the one vax have to carry that PCR test every 7 days, which is ridiculous. But the mandate, because they won't let them use antigen tests, so it's expensive. But that may come to an end once the vax rate gets up to 70%. And then there'll be no more drama. The people are not enjoying it here, the local people.
Well, Antigua, like I said, is close to, has a high percentage, but they're still getting cases. I've seen in Scotland, which may have the world's highest vaccination rate. The vaccination isn't a silver bullet. I think it's more like a flu shot than the polio vaccine, which isn't 100% either. But anyway, I see we're off, so I am going to pack up and do actual work while I'm.
Okay.
But good to see you all.
And you.
Likewise.
All right.
Nice to see you again.
See you later.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Go well.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Good to see you. Bye. Okay. Ya, solamente 3 participantes. Yo pensaba que Lima hace participantes. No estaba. No, no, tal vez existe problemas de la... Ay, qué pena con esto. Estoy casi seguro que se encuentra. Pero son tan, yo creo que son cosas tan chiquitos.
No estaban juntos, ¿no?
No tengo lógico para separar eso, porque hay todo este bolsa plástico con las cositas. Tienen tornillos y son sumamente importantes. Y una bolsa tiene una solo. ¿Sabes?
En la oficina, tú lo sacaste.
No, yo pasé por todo.
Es uno que es delgadito, las puntas son voladitas. No, ahí está. Ahora. ¿Qué? Sí. No, un momento.
Ya.
Llama aquí. No.
Entro, John. Llego John. Llego John. Tengo que averiguar el computador para ver. Ya, ¿usted se queda hasta qué hora? Ok. Yo creo que ya voy a la oficina para chequear por el computador.
Caería ahí y no te dice.
Ya, y alguien se tira en la basura.
Vamos a mandar el equipo, ¿eh? Está el otro. Y no hay. Estamos ese ya.
Ujú.
Está afuera.
Ok, mi tapo box. Ya.
Ahí. Ah,
No. ¿Cuál es?
allá afuera. Llegaste, te sentaste ahí. Bueno, ahorita el tapabocas tu papá. ¿Qué va de la cosa hasta allá?
Okay, no se encuentra nada de esta.
Ya buscaste otro, pues imagínate tú.
Cosa pequeña, cosa importante. Ay,
Es lo que digo, ¿dónde estamos para montarse a Fabián? ¿Cuál es?
Okay.
Ya me extrañan.
Acá no.
Entonces, la mitad. 7. Yo no sé. A mí se me quitó la vaina, no jodas.
Yo puse la gorra hacia aquí. Los niños me estaban viendo. O sea, que me vean a mí. Hoy tirar para allá.
Bueno, jopa ya abierto.
¿Es en serio? Ay, pues puta rodilla me falló.
No, no, ninguno estaba ahí, ninguno está ahí.
La cocina de ellos.
¿Ah?
Ahorita lleva la palenquita. Y carne, como la manica. Un pollo raro. Pues, como que tiene la cara así.
No salté, brinqué, bailé, me caí, me dio la rodilla. ¿Saltaste, bailaste? No. Ah, ya bailaste. Ah, yo sé. Ah. ¿Cómo tiraste a buscar? ¿Tiraste a buscar? Sí. ¿Creen que esta, cómo se llama ella? La compañía de tu mamá. Hola, tú tienes. En la noche, mira, yo voy a comprar los almuerzos, en la noche me andan en mi casa. Ahí como sabes que a mí me gusta. Comprar el café. Dame una lista hecha de firmas. Sí, por eso que quiero poner la carta. Mire, el C4 Cactus, 80 millones.
Al Capt. Un bonito. Sí, bueno. Eso también es fácil.
Ahí queda. O van a buscar. Y eso son las 4 de la tarde, ya comenzamos a ver ahí. Y se llegan a las 2 de la tarde.
Por eso te dije, tarde ya cenemos.
Yo que eran las 2 de la tarde. A esta hora ya no hay almuerzo, hay puro frito. Bueno. Entonces me da 4 quesos. Ahorita que voy a hacer. Me caí, entonces mañana está todo parece. No, no sabía dónde encontrar nada.
La pieza se le perdió, la atrasó. Y primero tenía que meter la guaya, mensaje anónimo.
Es que, hombre, guarde esa
Y la
cosa
pieza
aquí.
se le perdió.
Si la encuentra, lo podemos hacer una mañana temprano, que ahí mismo.
No te digo, tengo que salir a comprar cosas
En la noche me dio Marco.
en la noche.
A mí me dijo ahora.
Yo tengo la plata de ira, de Dani, Tomás, la mía,
O más que
el pan.
mi abuela se compró esta parte de
Y lo mío esta parte. Y esta parte con la. Me falta Marco,
balán, supone.
no me dijo que no sabía.
Una novena me dijo que de pronto venía, está bien, la voy a llamar para que ella va y quedó.
Y va a
Ah,
la
ya.
niña, ¿dónde? Hola, o acá.
O de pronto se quedará para San Corto y después arrancará.
Vamos.
Se vendrá para acá, no sé. O se queda allá, no sé. O se queda en la casa.
Sí, porque ahí empiezan a tirar un café, a asustar a mí.
Y esa es
No, yo no creo que se asuste.
esa es otra loca, que esa sí tira.
Porque hay que buscar al Ciudad Siria. Como en
¿Cómo ven?
20.
Ah, pero está en el clip de Lee.
Ah, se va a vivir. Javier,
Oye, ¿qué?
Javier, habló de unas uñas negras de
Ah, ya se va para dónde? Para Cante.
pero no es original de allá porque es blanquísimo.